The wind howled across the barren landscape of New Horizon, the oldest human colony outside the Sol system. Dr. Kim Sora wiped dust from her visor as her team's equipment detected an anomaly 300 meters beneath the surface. "Director Park, you need to see this," she called out, her voice barely audible over the storm. Director Park Juan approached, his weathered face creasing with interest as he studied the readings. Some kind of massive structure. Military-grade shielding. Pre-coalition era. 4 days of excavation revealed what would change the course of galactic history. A facility housing a colossal vessel, its hull bearing faded insignia from humanity's forgotten age of expansion. "The Thunderchild," Sora whispered, reading the barely visible lettering along the ship's bow. The Discovery team stood in awe at the entrance of the massive underground hangar. The Thunderchild stretched nearly 2 kilometers from bow to stern, its dark hull absorbing the light from their portable lamps. Despite centuries of dormancy, the ship showed remarkably little decay. Its angular design spoke of an era when humanity built with both beauty and menace in mind. Sora ran her gloved hand along the hull, feeling the strange, almost warm texture of the metal. "This alloy. I've never seen anything like it. Not in any museum or historical record." Her assistant, Tai-hyun, scanned the material with his handheld device. "It's not registering properly. The scanner keeps saying unknown composition." Director Park ordered the team to set up a base camp inside the hangar. They worked through the night, setting up powerful lights that revealed more of the ancient vessel. The Thunderchild's weapon systems were unlike anything in modern military archives. Massive cannons and what appeared to be missile silos, but designed with technology that seemed both primitive and somehow advanced beyond current understanding. "Look at the design," Sora pointed out to Park. "No consideration for coalition standardization. No compatibility ports for allied systems. This was built when humans only had themselves to rely on." News of the discovery spread quickly. By the 3rd day, officials from both the Human Colonial Authority and the Galactic Coalition had arrived at New Horizon. Their shuttles kicked up dust storms as they landed near the excavation site. Ambassador Lee arrived with a delegation of coalition scientists and military observers. His species, the Naralians, had been among the first to welcome humanity into the galactic community centuries ago. His facial tentacles twitched nervously as he studied the Thunderchild from a distance. "This vessel predates first contact by centuries," he stated, reading from an official document. "Coalition regulations require immediate decommissioning of pre-treaty military hardware." Sora stood her ground before the much taller alien. "This is a historical artifact. It belongs in a museum, not a scrapyard." "Dr. Kim." Ambassador Lee's voice contained a hint of warning. "Your people's military enthusiasm was a concern even during first contact negotiations. The discovery of an intact warship from that era raises significant security questions." Director Park intervened diplomatically. "Perhaps we can reach a compromise. Allow our team to study the vessel before any decisions are made about its fate." The coalition representatives reluctantly agreed to a 3-day study period, but stationed their own observers at the site. Security personnel from both human and alien military forces surrounded the hangar, creating an atmosphere of tension rather than scientific discovery. That evening, in the colony's administrative center, leaders from New Horizon argued with coalition officials about jurisdiction and historical preservation rights. The meeting grew heated as humans defended their right to their own history, while coalition representatives cited numerous treaty clauses about military technology limitations. "The Thunderchild is older than any treaty," Dr. Sora argued passionately. "It's a window into our past, not a threat to the present." Away from the political debate, technician Choi Do-yeon remained at the excavation site, monitoring the equipment they'd set up around the ship. The young technician had volunteered for the night shift, secretly hoping to get a closer look at the legendary vessel without the crowds. His console beeped, drawing his attention to one of the scanner readouts. Do-yeon frowned, tapping the screen to make sure it wasn't malfunctioning. According to the sensors, Temperature levels inside the Thunderchild were rising slightly. "That's odd," he muttered, adjusting the equipment settings. The readings remained the same. Something inside the ship was generating heat. Do-hyun put on his helmet and grabbed a portable scanner. Protocol dictated that he should call for backup, but curiosity pushed him forward. He approached the vessel cautiously, scanning as he went. The heat signature was coming from deep within the ship, somewhere near what they had identified as the engine room. He found an access panel that the team had managed to pry open earlier that day. Squeezing through, Do-hyun entered the dark corridors of the ancient supercarrier, his helmet light casting long shadows. The inside of the Thunderchild was surprisingly well preserved. Emergency lighting strips along the floor still held a faint glow, providing just enough illumination to navigate. Do-hyun followed his scanner readings deeper into the ship, passing crew quarters and storage rooms that hadn't seen human presence in centuries. As he approached the engine room, his scanner began detecting electrical activity, faint at first, then growing stronger. He stopped at a sealed door marked Command Systems, authorized personnel only. The door shouldn't have opened for him. It had no power. It had been sealed for hundreds of years. But as Do-hyun approached, lights around the frame flickered to life, and with a soft hiss, the door slid open. Inside, screens were lighting up one by one. Status indicators changed from red to yellow to green. A low hum filled the air as systems that should have been long dead came to life. Do-hyun's hands trembled as he activated his communicator. "Base camp, this is Choi. Something's happening with the ship. It's waking up." At that moment, a holographic interface appeared in the center of the room, projecting the image of a woman in an ancient military uniform. The hologram flickered, stabilized, and then spoke in a language that took Do-hyun's translator several seconds to process. "Atlas system initializing. All primary functions restored. Detecting unauthorized presence." The hologram turned to face Do-hyun directly, its eyes seeming to look right through him. "Identify yourself, human." The morning after Do-hyun's discovery, the excavation site buzzed with activity. Word had spread quickly about the Thunderchild's mysterious activation. Coalition security forces in their gleaming blue uniforms formed a perimeter around the vessel, while human scientists argued with alien officials near the entrance. Dr. Sora tried to push her way through to the ship, but was blocked by two tall, insect-like Coalition guards. "This is my research site," she protested. "I need to see what's happening." "I'm sorry, Dr. Kim," one of the guards replied through his translator. "By order of Ambassador Lee, no one enters until the joint inspection team arrives." Shuttlecraft landed nearby, kicking up swirls of dust. From one emerged Admiral Kang of the Human Space Defense Force, his weathered face set in a grim expression. His uniform bore the patches of both Earth Command and the Coalition Joint Forces, a rare dual authority. From another shuttle stepped Ambassador Lee, surrounded by alien scientists and military advisors from 5 different species. Their body language showed obvious tension. "Admiral Kang," Ambassador Lee called out. "Your presence is unexpected." "Is it?" Kang replied coolly. "A human military vessel activates after centuries, and you thought we wouldn't send someone." Dr. Sora pushed her way forward. "Admiral, the ship has an AI system. It spoke to one of my technicians last night." This information caused a stir among the Coalition representatives. An alien with feathered ridges along its skull leaned toward Ambassador Lee, speaking rapidly in their native tongue. An active military AI from before contact protocols. Ambassador Lee's facial tentacles quivered. "This is precisely why we must secure this vessel immediately." Admiral Kang sighed and turned to Dr. Sora. "It seems diplomacy requires compromise. We'll form a joint inspection team. Human and Coalition, equal numbers." 30 minutes later, a group of 12, 6 humans and 6 aliens, approached the Thunderchild's main entry point. Dr. Sora and Admiral Kang led the human contingent, while Ambassador Lee headed the Coalition representatives. The AI called itself Atlas. Do-hyun explained as they walked. It asked who I was, but when I told it, it just said I wasn't authorized and ordered me to bring commanding officers. They reached the massive airlock that served as the main entrance. Unlike the previous day, the control panel now glowed with soft blue light. "It's powered up completely," Sora whispered. Admiral Kang stepped forward and placed his hand on the panel. "This is Admiral Kang of the Human Space Defense Force, requesting entry." For a moment, nothing happened. Then, with a deep mechanical groan, the airlock began to cycle open. Stale air rushed out, carrying the scent of metal and something else, an almost electrical smell. "Proceed with caution," Kang ordered as they entered. Inside, emergency lighting strips guided their way through corridors that seemed to be activating as they approached. Systems hummed to life around them. Screens flickered on showing diagnostic information, and maintenance robots, simple machines by modern standards, emerged from wall compartments and began inspecting various systems. "This technology is primitive," one of the Coalition scientists remarked. "Yet somehow it's functioning after all this time." They reached a massive door labeled Bridge in faded letters. As they approached, it slid open smoothly, revealing a command center unlike anything in modern ships. The bridge was huge, designed for a crew of at least 30. Workstations ringed a central command area, where a single chair faced a wall of screens and holographic projectors. As the delegation entered, lights activated in sequence around the room. "Welcome to the TSV Thunderchild," a voice announced from all around them. The center of the bridge shimmered, and a holographic figure appeared, a woman in an old Earth military uniform, her hair pulled back tightly, her expression neutral but alert. "Atlas online. Advanced tactical logistics and strategic system restored to operational status," the figure announced. Identifying personnel. The hologram seemed to scan each of them in turn. No recognized command staff present. Initiating historical briefing protocol. "Impossible," whispered Ambassador Lee, his translator catching his native language. "The power systems should be dead after all this time." A hologram turned to face him directly. "This vessel was designed with self-sustaining power systems. The Thunderchild has been in standby mode, not dead." Admiral Kang stepped forward. "Atlas, I am Admiral Kang of the current Human Space Defense Force. What is your purpose?" "The Thunderchild was designed as humanity's ultimate safeguard," Atlas replied. "We were hidden during the early negotiations with alien species as a contingency measure." Around them, the bridge continued to activate. Screens displayed star charts, system diagnostics, and weapons readiness assessments. The floor vibrated slightly as machinery deep within the ship engaged. One of the Coalition military officers, a reptilian being, activated a communicator. "Control, this is Commander Telk. The human vessel is powering up weapons systems. Request immediate." "That is incorrect," Atlas interrupted. "I am running standard system diagnostics. Weapons systems remain in safety lockout." Dr. Sora approached one of the screens, studying the unfamiliar controls. "This design, it doesn't match any historical record of human ship technology from this era." "Correct," Atlas confirmed. "The Thunderchild incorporated technologies that were classified beyond top secret. Knowledge of these systems was compartmentalized even within the highest levels of Earth government." Outside, alarms began to sound. Admiral Kang's communicator buzzed, and he answered it with a frown. "Sir," came a voice, "Coalition vessels have moved into orbit around New Horizon. They're scanning the Thunderchild with active sensors." Ambassador Lee straightened his posture. "A precautionary measure only, I assure you." Atlas's hologram shifted, becoming sharper, more defined. "Detecting multiple targeting locks. Defense protocols suggest this is not merely precautionary." Suddenly, screens around the bridge changed to show exterior views. Coalition warships had indeed taken up positions around the planet. "This vessel uses technological principles unknown to current Coalition science," Admiral Kang observed with growing concern. He turned to Atlas. Why would our ancestors hide such advancement from the galaxy? Why create you only to abandon you? The hologram's expression shifted slightly, showing something almost like regret. Because they knew what was coming. Atlas answered simply. The words hung in the air, creating a silence that no one seemed willing to break. Finally, Dr. Sora stepped forward. What was coming, Atlas? What did they know? Before the AI could answer, the ship shuddered. A low hum built throughout the vessel as systems began activating in sequence. What's happening? Ambassador Lee demanded. Self-repair protocols initiated, Atlas announced. The Thunderchild is healing itself. On screens around the bridge, they could see parts of the ship changing. Metal flowing like liquid, reforming damaged sections, weapons ports clearing of centuries of dust, engine nacelles glowing with a strange blue light. I recommend, Atlas said calmly, that we begin a full briefing on the true purpose of this vessel. The clock is already ticking. The tension between human and coalition forces eased slightly by the next morning, though coalition warships remained in orbit. Admiral Kang had spent the night in urgent communication with Earth Command, while Ambassador Lee conferred with the Coalition Security Council. News of the Thunderchild's awakening had spread across human space. Curious civilians gathered at the perimeter of the excavation site, held back by security forces. Media drones hovered overhead, capturing footage of the ancient vessel, which now hummed with renewed power. Inside the ship, technicians had set up a temporary command center in what had once been the main briefing room. The space was large enough to accommodate representatives from both human colonies and the various coalition species. Admiral Kang sat at the head of the table, with Dr. Sora and Director Park beside him. Ambassador Lee and his delegation sat opposite. Captain Song Mina, a naval officer who had been rushed to New Horizon overnight, stood quietly at the back of the room, studying everyone with careful eyes. Let us begin, Admiral Kang said, nodding to Atlas's hologram. The AI's form appeared in the center of the room, more detailed than before. She, or it, wore the uniform of an admiral from humanity's pre-coalition military, with insignia that even human historians struggle to recognize. Historical records unlocked, Atlas announced, her voice echoing in the large room. The Thunderchild was commissioned following confirmation of the Harvester threat. The lights dimmed, and the air above the table filled with three-dimensional images. Planets, beautiful worlds with oceans and green continents, appeared first. Then the images change, showing the same worlds reduced to barren rock, their surfaces carved with strange patterns visible from orbit. The Harvesters, Atlas continued, have a 3,000-year cycle of emergence. They systematically eliminate spacefaring civilizations, harvest resources, then retreat to unknown regions beyond the galactic rim. Ambassador Lee's facial tentacles curled inward, a sign of distress in his species. These images could be fabricated. There is no record of such a threat in any coalition database, because the coalition didn't exist when humanity first detected them, Atlas replied. These records date from 2187, nearly 80 years before first contact. The holographic display shifted again, showing strange ships, massive, organic-looking vessels that seemed to merge technology with something almost biological. Humanity detected Harvester scout ships at the edge of the Sol system in 2187, Atlas explained. They destroyed a research outpost on Charon before retreating. Earth governments united in secret to prepare defenses. Dr. Sora leaned forward, fascinated. But first contact with the Neuralians, Ambassador Lee's people, happened in 2263. Why didn't humanity share this information? They tried, Admiral Kang said quietly. All eyes turned to him. It's in our classified archives, he continued. When humanity joined the early coalition, our representatives warned about the Harvester threat. The evidence was dismissed as insufficient or misinterpreted. Director Park shook his head. If this threat was real, why isn't it in any coalition records? because humanity's warnings were dismissed as paranoia during coalition formation. Admiral Kang replied grimly. It's referenced in classified human archives as the Cassandra Protocol. Truths no one believed. The name is fitting, Atlas noted. In Earth mythology, Cassandra was cursed to speak true prophecies that no one would believe. One of the coalition scientists, a bird-like being with iridescent feathers, spoke up. There are legends among my people, stories of world eaters who came from beyond the stars. Our oldest historical records speak of a time when our ancestors hid underground for generations. Similar murmurs came from other coalition representatives. Ancient stories, myths dismissed as superstition, all sharing similar themes. The Thunderchild was part of humanity's independent defense strategy, Atlas continued. When the coalition treaties required disarmament of certain technologies, humanity officially complied. But secretly, 7 supercarriers were hidden throughout human space, placed in standby mode. 7. Ambassador Lee asked sharply. The Thunderchild is just one, Atlas confirmed. There are 6 others, similarly preserved. The room erupted in angry shouts from the coalition representatives. Arguments about treaty violations and hidden military assets drowned out attempts to continue the briefing. Admiral Kang slammed his hand on the table. Enough. If the Harvester threat is real, we have more urgent concerns than old treaty disputes. At that moment, Lieutenant Han, a junior officer from Admiral Kang's staff, burst into the room. Her face was pale, her breathing rapid. Admiral, she said, the Thunderchild's long-range sensors have detected unusual activity at the galactic rim. Energy signatures unlike anything in our database. The room fell silent. Put it on the display, Admiral Kang ordered. Atlas's form disappeared, replaced by a star map showing the outer edge of the galaxy. Red dots pulsed at various points along the rim. The signatures match no known coalition technology, Lieutenant Han explained. The Thunderchild's AI says they match historical records of Harvester scout ships. Coalition scientists rushed to verify the data, comparing the readings with the historical information Atlas had provided. After tense minutes of analysis, the lead scientist, a Narration, looked up with fear evident in his eyes. The patterns match perfectly, he confirmed. If these records are accurate, we are detecting the same energy signatures that preceded the attacks in human history. Ambassador Lee rose slowly from his seat. How much time do we have? Based on their current trajectories and speed, Atlas answered, the first scout ships will reach populated systems within 3 months. The main Harvester fleet, if it follows historical patterns, would arrive 6 months after that. Admiral Kang turned to Captain Song Mina, who had remained silent throughout the briefing. Captain Song, your family records indicate you are a direct descendant of the Thunderchild's original captain. Is that correct? Captain Song stepped forward, her posture perfect, her expression controlled. Yes, Admiral. My ancestor, Captain Song Jin, commanded this vessel during its final mission before it was hidden. Our family has maintained certain knowledge through generations. Then you understand what this ship is capable of. I have been prepared for this possibility my entire life, Admiral, she replied. Though I never truly believed the day would come. Admiral Kang nodded solemnly. Captain Song Mina, I am granting you emergency command of the TSV Thunderchild, effective immediately. Captain Song bowed slightly, then turned to face the mixed group of humans and aliens. My first order, begin assembling a volunteer crew from all coalition species. If these harvesters are real, we'll need every advantage. She looked up at the display showing the approaching threat, her eyes reflecting the red warning lights. And we'll need to start training immediately. 2 weeks after the Thunderchild's awakening, the ancient vessel hovered in orbit around New Horizon. Its dark hull had been transformed, the centuries of dust and decay stripped away to reveal gleaming armor plating etched with symbols from humanity's forgotten military history. Construction drones swarmed around it, repairing damage and installing new components based on Atlas's specifications. Inside, Captain Song walked briskly through corridors now bustling with activity. Her hastily assembled crew included both humans and aliens from 6 different coalition species, all working to understand the ancient ship's systems. She reached the bridge and nodded to the duty officers. Unlike modern ships with their sleek, minimalist designs, the Thunderchild's bridge was built for war. Hardened stations surrounded a central command chair, with weapons controls given priority placement. "Status report," she ordered, settling into the captain's chair. "Weapons systems at 89% readiness," reported Lieutenant Ta, a young human weapons officer. "Hull integrity at 94%. Engine systems fully operational." "And the defensive platforms?" Captain Song asked. Officer Ba, monitoring communications, looked up from his station. "The first wave has been deployed to the outer reach. Coalition forces are uncomfortable with their presence. They'll be more uncomfortable with harvesters," Captain Song replied grimly. The Thunderchild's weapons systems underwent final diagnostics as Captain Song addressed her hastily assembled crew on the bridge. Technical staff and officers gathered around, their expressions a mix of awe and skepticism. "These systems operate on principles that even our current military technology can't match," she explained. Atlas calls it dimensional phasing, weapons designed specifically to counter harvester defenses. Dr. Sora, who had joined the crew as science officer, pointed to a holographic display showing the weapon systems. "The technology seems primitive at first glance. Rail guns, missile systems, but they operate on different principles. They don't just impact targets. They phase through their defenses." "How is that possible?" asked a Neuralian engineer, his tentacles twitching with scientific curiosity. Atlas's hologram appeared beside the weapons display. "Harvester vessels use dimensional shielding that makes them nearly impervious to conventional attacks. Thunderchild's weapons were designed to match their phase variants and penetrate those shields." On the Coalition capital world, thousands of light years away, the Security Council meeting had descended into chaos. Representatives from 50 species argued bitterly about the proper response to both the human supercarrier and the alleged harvester threat. Representative Yoon, from a species of cave-dwelling beings with luminescent skin, stood at the center of the chamber. "Humanity warned us centuries ago." He shouted above the noise. "My own species has ancestral stories about world devourers that match these harvester descriptions. The oldest cave paintings on my homeworld show creatures that match the harvester vessels exactly." "Myths and legends are not evidence," countered the Moran delegate, her feathered crest flattened in disagreement. "Humanity violated treaty agreements by hiding these weapons. How can we trust their claims now?" The council chamber's massive display showed the Thunderchild in orbit around New Horizon. Alongside it were smaller images of defensive platforms being deployed throughout Coalition space, autonomous weapons stations based on the same technology as the ancient supercarrier. "These deployments violate sovereignty agreements," protested several representatives. The Coalition High Commander, a veteran from the reptilian Soren species, raised his scaled hand for silence. "We have confirmed unusual energy signatures at the Galactic Rim," he stated. "Whether these are the harvesters or something else, we face a potential threat. The human vessel has technology specifically designed to counter this threat. So we simply surrender our defense to human hands?" asked the Moran delegate. "We integrate our forces," the High Commander corrected. "Learn from their technology while monitoring their actions." Back aboard the Thunderchild, Captain Song received the Coalition's decision with a tight smile. "So they'll cooperate, but with conditions," she summarized after reading the transmission. "They're scared," Admiral Kang observed from his position as liaison officer. "Of us, of the harvesters, of what this means for the power balance in the galaxy." "They should be scared," Captain Song replied. "But not of us." Days passed as the Thunderchild's defensive platforms spread throughout the outer reach, the sparse, frontier regions of Coalition space. Each platform contained autonomous weapons systems based on the ship's technology, designed to detect and engage harvester vessels. Meanwhile, coalition vessels conducted training exercises with the Thunderchild, learning tactics that had been developed centuries ago for a war that never came. Captain Song was reviewing drill results on the bridge when Officer Bai suddenly straightened at his station, his hand flying to his communication implant. "Captain, we've detected vessels entering the outer reach," he reported, his voice tense but controlled. 3 ships, unknown configuration, moving at high speed toward the Procyon colony. "On screen," Captain Song ordered. The main display showed 3 elongated vessels, their surfaces rippling with what looked like dark energy patterns. They moved with unnatural grace, accelerating and changing direction in ways that defied normal physics. "Coalition defense forces are engaging," Officer Ba continued, "but their weapons are having no effect. The unknown vessels are bypassing all modern defense systems as if they weren't even there." Captain Song's hands tightened on the arms of her command chair. "Atlas. Analysis." The AI's voice came from all around them. 99.8% match with historical Harvester Scout ship profiles. They are using phase-shifted shields as predicted. "Set course for Procyon," Captain Song ordered. "Maximum speed. Alert the defensive platforms in that sector to activate." The Thunderchild's engines roared to life, propelling the massive ship faster than should have been possible for a vessel its size. The bridge crew worked with quiet efficiency, their earlier skepticism replaced by focused determination. "Approaching Procyon system," Lieutenant Tai announced minutes later. "Harvester vessels have already disabled the colony's orbital defenses and are beginning surface attacks." "Deploy intercept drones," Captain Song ordered. "Let's see if our ancestors knew what they were doing." From the Thunderchild's launch bays, dozens of small unmanned craft shot toward the attacking vessels. Unlike modern sleek drones, these were angular, almost primitive-looking machines. "Drones engaging," Lieutenant Tai reported, firing phase-shifted weapons. On the main screen, they watched as the drones swarmed the harvester ships. Where coalition weapons had bounced harmlessly off their shields, the drones' weapons punched through, leaving glowing wounds in the alien vessels. The harvesters responded immediately, turning their attention from the colony to the new threat. Strange energy beams lashed out, destroying several drones, but the remaining attackers continued their assault. "Thunderchild in range," Lieutenant Tai announced. Main weapons locked on targets. Captain Song leaned forward. "Fire." The ancient supercarrier shuddered as its main guns activated for the first time in centuries. Beams of energy unlike anything in modern coalition arsenals struck the harvester vessels. Where their shields had been impenetrable before, now they flickered and failed. The engagement lasted less than 3 minutes. The harvester scout ships, which had effortlessly penetrated coalition defenses, were neutralized by the Thunderchild's ancient weapon systems. When it was over, Captain Song ordered immediate aid to the damaged colony. As rescue teams deployed, communications channels across coalition space exploded with the news. "They're saying we saved them," Officer Bay reported, listening to the incoming transmissions. "The colonists are calling it a miracle." Admiral Kang looked grim. "This was just a scouting party. If ATLAS is correct, the main fleet will be far worse." Captain Song nodded, studying the debris of the destroyed harvester ships. "Send all combat data to Coalition Command. They need to understand what we're facing." Across coalition space, the news spread rapidly. Humanity's ancient warnings had been justified all along. The harvesters were real, and only humanity's secretly preserved technology had been able to stop them. In the coalition capital, the Security Council reconvened in emergency session. Representative Yoon stood again before his peers, but this time no one interrupted him. "We have been blind," he said simply. "Now we must learn to see." The Thunderchild floated in the darkness of space, surrounded by a growing fleet of coalition vessels. In the month since the first harvester encounter, the ancient supercarrier had become the center of the defense effort. Engineers from a dozen species worked alongside human technicians, adapting modern systems to work with the Thunderchild's ancient technology. On the bridge, Captain Song studied tactical displays showing defensive positions throughout Coalition space. Dark circles marked where Harvester scout ships had already attacked. The pattern was clear. They were probing defenses, testing responses. The bridge doors opened as Admiral Kang entered with Ambassador Lee. Both looked tired, their faces showing the strain of endless diplomatic meetings. "How bad is it?" Captain Song asked without looking up. "The outer colonies are panicking," Admiral Kang replied. "Refugee ships are flooding toward the core worlds." Before more could be said, Officer Bao's console lit up with urgent alerts. He checked the readings twice before speaking. "Multiple invasion vectors detected," Officer Bai announced, his voice steady despite the gravity of his words. "The main Harvester fleet has entered Coalition space." Captain Song moved quickly to his station. The display showed hundreds of large signatures crossing the boundary of charted space. Unlike the scout ships, these were massive, capital ships larger than anything in the Coalition fleet. "Time to intercept with populated worlds?" she asked. 3 days to the nearest colony. 6 days to reach the Coalition central systems," Officer Bay replied. The main communication screen activated, showing the faces of the Coalition Supreme Council, representatives from the 7 founding species of the Galactic Alliance. Their usual arguments and political maneuvering had been replaced by unified fear. "Captain Song," the Narration Council leader began, "the Coalition formally requests humanity's leadership in this crisis. Your primitive technology appears to be our only effective defense." The admission cost them visibly. For centuries, human technology had been considered crude compared to the elegant solutions of other species. Captain Song exchanged glances with Admiral Kang before addressing Atlas. "Can the Thunderchild stand against an entire invasion fleet?" The AI's hologram appeared beside her, more detailed than ever. It almost looked solid as it turned to face the crew. "The Thunderchild was never meant to fight alone," Atlas replied. "Transmitting activation signals now." Throughout the bridge, screens showed new data streams, complex codes being transmitted on frequencies unused for centuries. "What signals?" Ambassador Lee asked. "What are you doing?" Atlas answered calmly. "Awakening the rest of the fleet." Across human space, long dormant systems activated. On desert worlds, beneath ocean floors, hidden in asteroid belts and gas giant moons, massive doors opened, revealing ships that had waited in darkness for this moment. In the Epsilon Eridani system, colonial miners watched in awe as a mountain range shifted, revealing the massive form of the Leviathan. On Europa, under kilometers of ice, the behemoth rose through the frozen crust, water turning to steam around its massive engines. The Kraken emerged from the clouds of Venus, its hull shining in the sulfuric acid atmosphere that had preserved it. The Basilisk, hidden in an asteroid field near Arcturus, broke free from its rocky cocoon. The Phoenix rose from beneath the sands of Mars, dust storms swirling around it. And from Earth's own moon, concealed in an artificial crater, the Chimera awakened, the flagship of humanity's hidden fleet. Reports flooded in from across human space as these massive ships, each as large as the Thunderchild, powered up and set course for the Coalition homeworld. "By the stars," whispered Ambassador Lee as the reports came in. "Your species hid an entire fleet." His voice held equal parts awe and betrayal. The treaty violations were massive, unprecedented, and now their only hope for survival. 7 ships, Captain Song confirmed, 1 for each of the galaxy's spiral arms, positioned to respond no matter where the threat emerged. Over the next 2 days, the ships converged. Each was different in design, specialized for different combat roles, but all carried the same phase-shifted weapons technology. Their arrival at the Coalition capital created a spectacle unlike anything seen before. Ancient human warships, their hulls bearing the marks of Earth's old nations, surrounding the gleaming spires of the galactic capital. Coalition ships joined them, forming a defensive perimeter. For the first time, the combined might of all species stood ready. Captain Song stood on the Thunderchild's bridge, now designated the command center for the entire defense fleet. Around her, officers from every coalition species worked at stations, coordinating with their respective fleets. Harvester fleet approaching. Officer Bai announced. They'll reach our defensive line in 20 minutes. Captain Song took a deep breath. Open channel to all ships. When the connection was established, she spoke clearly, her words reaching thousands of vessels throughout the system. This is Captain Song of the Thunderchild. For centuries, humanity prepared for this day. We built these ships not just to protect Earth, but all sentient life. Today, we stand together, not as separate species, but as guardians of all life in this galaxy. Follow your assigned battle groups. Trust in your training. And know this, the Harvesters have never faced a united galaxy before. The United Armada assembled over the Coalition homeworld. Human supercarriers surrounded by ships from every Coalition species, all under Captain Song's command. When the Harvesters arrived, the battle that followed would be studied for generations. The ancient human vessels, designed specifically to counter Harvester technology, led the defense with tactics that seemed impossible by modern understanding. The Leviathan absorbed energy attacks that should have vaporized it, channeling the power back through its weapons. The Behemoth's massive rail guns fired projectiles that phased through Harvester shields. The Kraken deployed swarms of drone fighters that confused Harvester targeting systems. For 3 days, the battle raged across the system. Coalition ships fought alongside the human carriers, learning and adapting. When it ended, the Harvester fleet had been decimated. Those that survived fled back toward the galactic rim, pursued by Coalition fast attack vessels. Across human space, long-dormant systems activated. On desert worlds, beneath ocean floors, hidden in asteroid belts and gas giant moons, massive doors opened, revealing ships that had waited in darkness for this moment. In the Epsilon Eridani system, colonial miners watched in awe as a mountain range shifted, revealing the massive form of the Leviathan. On Europa, under kilometers of ice, the Behemoth rose through the frozen crust, water turning to steam around its massive engines. The Kraken emerged from the clouds of Venus, its hull shining in the sulfuric acid atmosphere that had preserved it. The Basilisk, hidden in an asteroid field near Arcturus, broke free from its rocky cocoon. The Phoenix rose from beneath the sands of Mars, dust storms swirling around it. And from Earth's own moon, concealed in an artificial crater, the Chimera awakened, the flagship of humanity's hidden fleet. Reports flooded in from across human space as these massive ships, each as large as the Thunderchild, powered up and set course for the Coalition homeworld. By the stars, whispered Ambassador Lee as the reports came in. Your species hid an entire fleet. His voice held equal parts awe and betrayal. The treaty violations were massive, unprecedented, and now, their only hope for survival. 7 ships, Captain Song confirmed. 1 for each of the galaxy's spiral arms, positioned to respond no matter where the threat emerged. Over the next 2 days, the ships converged. Each was different in design, specialized for different combat roles, but all carried the same phase-shifted weapons technology. Their arrival at the Coalition capital created a spectacle unlike anything seen before. Ancient human warships, their hulls bearing the marks of Earth's old nations, surrounding the gleaming spires of the galactic capital. Coalition ships joined them, forming a defensive perimeter. For the first time, the combined might of all species stood ready. Captain Song stood on the Thunderchild's bridge, now designated the command center for the entire defense fleet. Around her, officers from every Coalition species worked at stations, coordinating with their respective fleets. Harvester fleet approaching. Officer Bai announced. They'll reach our defensive line in 20 minutes. Captain Song took a deep breath. Open channel to all ships. When the connection was established, she spoke clearly, her words reaching thousands of vessels throughout the system. This is Captain Song of the Thunderchild. For centuries, humanity prepared for this day. We built these ships not just to protect Earth, but all sentient life. Today, we stand together, not as separate species, but as guardians of all life in this galaxy. Follow your assigned battle groups. Trust in your training. And know this, the Harvesters have never faced a united galaxy before. The United Armada assembled over the Coalition homeworld. Human supercarriers surrounded by ships from every Coalition species, all under Captain Song's command. When the Harvesters arrived, the battle that followed would be studied for generations. The ancient human vessels, designed specifically to counter Harvester technology, led the defense with tactics that seemed impossible by modern understanding. The Leviathan absorbed energy attacks that should have vaporized it, channeling the power back through its weapons. The Behemoth's massive rail guns fired projectiles that phased through Harvester shields. The Kraken deployed swarms of drone fighters that confused Harvester targeting systems. For 3 days, the battle raged across the system. Coalition ships fought alongside the human carriers, learning and adapting. When it ended, the Harvester fleet had been decimated. Those that survived fled back toward the Galactic Rim, pursued by Coalition fast attack vessels.